Hello and welcome to Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan Weigel, and with me today, but not yesterday, is Logan Stump.
I'll be there for... I can't sing that. It's copyrighted. Hello. Hello, everybody.
And it's a lie. He won't be there
for you. Unfortunate.
If you listen to Stoppage Time Soccer Show, you'll know what we're talking about. He abandoned us yesterday.
Again.
To go around Epcot.
Epcot was nice, though.
Watch this. Look, now my face is gone.
Oh, that's kind of cool. You're like Two-Face.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
You have to watch the video version to see what just happened. But we are going to be talking some... I don't know. What are we talking about?
I think we're talking about MLS, right?
Maybe. We're talking some... Man, this is brutal. The screen. Okay, anyway, we're talking some MLS week 5 or 6, whatever week it is, in the sense of those midweek games. We don't really know anymore. But this was a week to remember. Was it not? Or should we forget it? Should we forget the week?
Let's forget it, maybe. I don't know. This has been a crazy week.
It's a good week for Cincinnati fans. Well, partly, which we'll get to later. We'll have a guest that's actually going to talk about that as well. But yeah, not a. It was good for like a new stadium. Let's say that. Definitely good for a new stadium. Let's see what other kind of things happened, I guess. Let's talk about our headlines for the weekend that just happened, the 15th through the 16th. But first, before we do that, update to this Columbus Crew story. We can now use the official badge if we make stuff again, because they went back and they said that they are going to add Crew to the name again. They actually dropped the SC completely. So now when you look at the history of Columbus Crew, they were the Columbus Crew from 96 to 14. Then they were Columbus Crew SC until 2021. And then for a week, they were Columbus SC. And now they are just Columbus Crew again. So there you go.
We don't know what they are. And that's why I did this. That's the
new logo.
Yeah. Oh, over here. Yep. There it is. And then there, the Crew have had more logos than wins this season. It's yeah, that's kind of mean, and I do apologize to all Crew fans out there. But I felt like it was appropriate. We're having Brad Weigel on of SC Cincinnati. We're having him on from Cincy Soccer Talk on later on, and we've had his twin Brian on before. But we're kind of previewing Brad. He'll be at the end of the episode. So if you're a FC Cincinnati fan, want to get the lowdown on West End Stadium. Yep, West End. I'll keep calling it West End. But I thought that this was appropriate for all the Cincinnati fans that might get to hear or see. Actually, you get to see it, but I have something behind me that takes a shot at Crew fans and the team a little bit.
Yeah, it was a nice, pleasant surprise. What was that? Earlier, it was late last night, I guess, that they announced this deal that they had made with the Nordeca. They had met over Monday afternoon. They had met, and Sam Stay-School has a great article about this in The Athletic, where everybody that was invited was a little nervous about what they were about to walk into. Just to find out that they put them at ease pretty quickly and just said, we're the Crew. That's what we are going forward. They did update the logo. Instead of where the SC was outside of the flag, it now says Crew. And instead of that weird triangle goatee is a 96. Which is great. I do think that from what I've been reading, that this is just a temporary fix and that they will probably still redesign the logo after whatever they signed up for with this logo, the same way the Fire kind of had their issue. I think we're going to get the same sort of thing. And Matt Doyle put this well on Twitter as well, that this shows we have a history over here in the United States at soccer. We don't have to try to be somebody else, and that's what we were kind of talking about last week. And what's so great about this is, just like with the Super League stuff and just like with the Fire, it shows that the fans have power, right? The fans, the Nordeca was going to boycott any new merch. You know how devastating that would be for the Crew? They're hoping when they create a new logo that your diehards buy it and then you get new fans. They're not thinking, okay, we just got to get the new fans to buy it. Because what is going to make the new fans buy it if they don't even see people walking around with it, right? So, like, there's this nobody was just waiting for a flag-shaped crest with a C in it to be like, oh, now I'm a Crew fan, you know? So, like, it was kind of a weird business move. Of course, this was probably in the works for a while since the Haslams bought the team, but just good to show that fans have power. So if I do worry that at some point the union would try this thing, and I hope that all this stuff shows that with the Fire and with this Crew stuff, that stop touching our teams. Montreal, that one, the owner just actually doesn't care. So it's not going to be reversed. But what is nice about the Crew is that they drew a line in the sand and they said, no, we are the Crew. And if you don't add this in here, we're not buying anything else. We may even cancel our season tickets. We may walk out of games, and you're about to open this brand new stadium that you paid millions of dollars for. That's rough. So, of course, they had to backtrack. And this lasted longer than the Super League, surprisingly, but still very short. Still very short. And I'm glad to see the Crew owners relented on this because, look, I think Crew fans will be able to get over it. They're going to say, hey, they listened to us. They're also adding this whole fan liaison position in the building where they're going to have somebody that speaks with supporters all the time. So that's really great. And I think that helps. It's almost like what Chelsea and City are doing overseas with adding fans to the board meetings and stuff. It helps that, relationship between supporters, and it's really great. I'm really excited to see that some people I know have started to come around on the crest. It's not terrible. I would say the Fire crest is still the worst.
Mm-hmm.
That one has not grown on me at all. But what was so egregious about this was the name, because it just made them sound generic. Columbus SC. Well, now they're Columbus Crew. Drop the SC. We're good there. And in fact, we could probably drop the SC and FCs for most of these teams and be fine. Like, they added Chicago Fire and FC to Chicago Fire. They should just be the Chicago Fire. They don't need to have FC at the end of it. And hopefully when they rebrand with their new crest, they get rid of that too. But just stop touching these things. It's insane that the Crew fans had to go through this so many times already at this point. And this should be the last time. You hope. Until they sell to a new owner, and then that new owner wants to make their stamp. And Logan, are you worried at all? Because the Wilf family is buying Orlando. We haven't got a chance to talk about that. So why don't you talk a little about that deal that's pending and going through? And do you think, when you look at the Vikings, do you think of them being as owners where you're like, oh, they're going to put a lot of money in this team and we're going to win championships? Because they said they're going to try to win championships.
Yeah, I really like the direction I think that the players feel from the front office coming in. I think the Will family is respected around the leagues as far as owners, because I think that people speak highly on what they've done in Minnesota. I think that building that new stadium, it's immaculate. If you don't know anything about football, American football, and you're not a fan and you don't watch the Vikings, I feel like the Vikings too, they're very proud of where they come from. That's a Minnesota thing. That's a Midwest kind of thing. I think that the Midwest really cherishes tradition, and I think that that's also where you saw problems with the Crew. I think more so than any other parts of the country. I think you're going to get more blowback in the Midwest, because in the Midwest, these teams are I mean, it's what you do on Saturdays or Sundays. I mean, in a lot of these Midwestern towns in the winter, that might be the only form of entertainment at that point. Or in like a Columbus, Ohio, there's not, they've got the football team, and Crew has always been second to them. But I think that with the team and the product that they're putting on the pitch, with the stadiums they're putting on the pitch, it kind of goes to what like the Wilf family can kind of instill in Orlando. Orlando's got a beautiful stadium. You're in a great location. You're attractive to a lot of the international players. I know that the Brazilian connection runs deep with Alex Leitao as part of their front office. And I think that building on that is what needs to happen. I think that he's done a phenomenal job with recruiting. I think that the group that is currently in the front office, or below the owners, and the Rollins family who had founded Orlando City, they have such heavy ties and rooted into this city that I think that it's just going to be more money pumped in. And I think that is exciting for Orlando City fans, because we now look like a team that's going to be competitive for years to come. And it's exciting because we've got the talent. We have Daryl DK, who's now he's garnering attention from all these big Premier League clubs. So I think that the more money they can bring in, the better. And I don't think they will touch the logo, because Orlando City was really well known for its USL days. And when they came up, that team had been well rooted into this community, and I don't think that you can touch it either. I would be a fan of them dropping the SC part. Like Orlando City sounds fine. Manchester City, like it's that same kind of thing. Just drop the FC, drop the SCs. We don't need that. It's these towns in America have so much around them to build around it in such a community. And people in America love their city. They love to be prideful of their city. I think that's a thing you can do with these logos and these clubs going forward. So no, I'm excited for the Wilf family, excited for what they'll bring in as far as maybe some different eyes, and then them promising championships, because I don't think they're going to get it with the Vikings.
I will say the Wilf family has always won an MLS team. When they were trying to add Minnesota to MLS, it was between two ownership groups. The Wilfs wanted their own franchise that would have not been the Loons, would not have been Minnesota United. And that was a huge, huge issue, because I remember being really upset if they would have granted the Wilfs that team, because Minnesota was already a team. They were already organic supporter culture, and they had a great crest. They have it was at the point where you're like, they already have it set up. Just let them have it. And luckily that's what happened, and the Wilfs moved on. But then, of course, once they were linked with Orlando, I was like, well, that makes sense. They really want to get in on this. And it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. I don't know how many NFL owners I want in this league, because it could be like some of them are the ones holding them back. So we'll have to see how the Wilfs do, because I do believe that the Kraft family is, while they were instrumental in keeping MLS afloat, the way that they're not really spending a lot of money, the way that they keep going against some of these, when you hear about them wanting to increase salary caps and they're usually against it, it's a lot of these NFL owners that are that way, and not these owners like, Merritt Paulson, who has Portland. He doesn't have another team he owns except for the Thorns, and he wants to probably be able to increase the cap and stuff. And it's that kind of stuff where I think a lot of times it's the NFL owners that are against it. So we'll see how it goes. Not that I think that the previous owner for Orlando was probably all that well known for that anyway. So it really is a toss-up. I don't know much about their ownership from before.
Yeah, it's like what you said though. It's dangerous because they're always going to put money into football, because it is the money-making sport here in the United States. That being said, too, you also could have the instance where having an NFL owner, having a person that owns an NFL team, it could be beneficial in the way that it could bring in bigger competitors that may not own NFL teams, but they look at the Wilf family and go, they're a really successful business family here. Why don't we get into this new investment? Because the MLS has become a really small, risk, big reward kind of thing. I think now that they're 26 years old in the MLS, I think that you've got owners that are looking at this as an opportunity to really get into and get their feet wet in soccer because of how global soccer is. If this league took off in the next 20 years or so, I mean, you would really see an influx. And because of how much money that a lot of these United States business owners and these companies have, this could be big for the sport itself if we do have some of the bigger owners jump in now.
Yeah. I just want to say, too, Fox announced this new TV show.
Yeah, I saw that.
Not sure if people saw this. It's called Welcome to Flatch. It's actually...
It's about Leon Flatch from the Philadelphia Union.
Yeah. Flocky, man. It's inspired by a BBC's Studios comedy called This Country. And it is a half-hour comedy written and produced by Jenny Bix, who wrote for Sex and the City and The Greatest Showman, and directed by Paul Feig, who did The Office and Bridesmaids and stuff like that. But it's about a documentary crew who sets out to explore the lives of residents in a small American town. And it stars... one of the people it stars is actually Sean William Scott from American Pie as a priest. So that's going to be interesting. But the main reason why we're talking about it on this show is that one of the main characters in every shot of this trailer except for one is wearing some sort of Columbus Crew merchandise. Isn't that awesome?
It's really weird to see because in the United States, you would say football, like you'd have an Ohio State jersey on. Yeah, but I was shocked. Like, that's the first thing I noticed, too, when I watched the clip. I was like, wait a minute, that's a Crew T-shirt. That was nuts.
And it was the old school Crew one.
Yeah, it was.
First.
Yeah.
She started off wearing the three men, the men at work. And then she later you see the pre-court one with the one that they have this year on their shirt. And I guess maybe we'll see this new crest.
I was going to say, and then at the end of the trailer, you can see them burning the new crest in the back. It's wild.
But for anybody that listened to when I was on the final third, a guest spot on there a while ago, I gave them my 3-stage plan of how we can make soccer huge in America. This was one of the steps. I thought that was a long shot. I said, if you watch King of Queens, he's always wearing Jet stuff. Friends, they're always going to the Knicks game, right? Seinfeld, they're always talking about the Mets, and then George worked at the Yankees. I mean, this is the kind of stuff where usually it's like an NFL team or a
NBA team, yeah.
NBA team, or even the Friends had the Rangers, right, for the
ice hockey. Yep.
So I like how you stipulated ice hockey there.
Ice hockey,
like we're going to talk about the field hockey professional league.
It's a popular one in TV shows as well.
Yeah. So I said on there, like, when we start seeing jerseys, or they're talking about, hey, I'm going to the Union game, I'm going to the Red Bull game, going to the Sounders. Oh, by the way, which was in a book that I read. So if anybody has watched the TV show You on Netflix, this, they're filming season 3 for that, or it's finished and it's going to premiere later this year. But it's based off a book series, and the 3rd book just came out this year, like last month. So I bought it, and I get to near the end of the book, and a few times in there, it takes place in the Pacific Northwest. A few times in there, they're talking about, like, Joe's like, oh, everybody here likes soccer, right? Everybody here likes soccer, and they're like right outside Seattle. And then at one point in this, one of the characters says, I can't even get the score of the Sounders game right now. And I was like, there it is. Like, so we're getting it in books, we're getting it on TV. It's starting to really get its way into the zeitgeist, and that's what you need in order to make it big. Look, if somebody sees this girl wearing this shirt, they're going to look it up. Is that a real team? Hold on. But getting these, somebody's going to look it up and say, is that, like, what is that? What is she wearing? Columbus Crew? What is that? They're going to look it up and they're going to see what it is. And that's the kind of stuff that helps, because it'll make people aware. People are not that aware of MLS, right? I again, was wearing, I was at a family party, and I was telling them something about a soccer game. Oh, I know what it was. I said I was talking about how I'm trying to go to Portland.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, "Oh, do they play indoor or outdoor?" Like, this is how people in Maryland, at least, look at it, because the Blast is like the number one team in Maryland, right? Because they're indoor and they were, popular. And I'm like, no, they're outdoor. And this is that kind of thing that helps get that conversation going. Seeing this type of stuff on TV, I think, is a big step. Now, it doesn't make us world beaters, right? But what happens is, if people start seeing it like this, they take it as a more legitimate league. They start maybe watching. They hear about the people overseas that have come from this league. If they start looking that up, like, okay, let's say they go ahead and look up the Columbus Crew, and then they see that they have Zardes. Oh, I've seen him play for the U.S. a few times, so he's coming from here. Oh, okay, cool. If they then start looking at other things, they'll be like, oh, Brendan Aronson, I've been hearing about him a lot lately. Once he's a superstar at wherever he's going.
Mm-hmm.
And they can start, it just helps permeate that. Now, of course, the show could be a flop and nobody ever sees it. But the thing is, the fact that it's in one of these shows opens the door for it to be in other shows, I think. And it helps us in a big book series like you with Sounders.
I was going to say that the Sounders and maybe Portland are the ones that I think people think of. The Crew, we're getting there. I think that we're getting to a point where the people know about Crew. The fact that I will say the one benefit of having some of these teams play in football stadiums is that the football fans go, what the heck is a New England Revolution? But once they start to break out into their own stadiums, if they ever do get their own stadium, heck, they just got their training facilities. I think they're, 20 some odd years old now. So
man, if they don't know what the Crew, what the Revs are now after like 20 years in Gillette, right. I don't know
if they'll ever know. Yeah. So, it does it. And people that are moving from international places are coming here and watching the soccer games. Like when I go to Orlando City games, it's a very diverse group that are in the stands. And so that's really cool to kind of see, like, you got your German fans, you got your English fans over here that are watching soccer because they like soccer. They like going to the game and feeling that atmosphere. And now you're packing the stadiums of 100 people or 100% of people again. And the fans are excited. And like you said, Jordan, just seeing MLS coming, and it is a young league still. It's only 26 as compared to like baseball or the NFL. Like, it's a young league. It's not even halfway there to a lot of these leagues, so not even a quarter for some of them. So watching this grow, it's going to be really exciting, and I think it's going to grow exponentially with the next two World Cups.
Especially the 2026.
Yes.
That'll be huge. That's what's so cool too, is that she just wasn't wearing like a U.S. kit. Or something.
Yeah,
it was like a
or a United team kit.
Yeah, and I'm assuming this town is going to be like near Columbus or something.
Yeah,
that's what I assume, and that's probably their closest sports team or something. Well, that and the what? That's the thing too.
The Buckeyes. Yeah.
Well, no, don't they have the Blue Jackets or something? The hockey team?
Oh, yeah.
So that's another thing, too. They chose the Crew over an NHL team. So that's showing how we're going here. They could have also put her in any sort of Cleveland or Cincinnati merch, I'm assuming, too. Okay, so enough about that stuff. Let's start getting into actual games, I guess. So let's go ahead with our headlines. I'll start first here. The Union win a home game. Now, this might not sound shocking if you've skipped the first few weeks of the season. But, because last year they were undefeated at home. They had already had 2 losses at home, and they just drew with the Revolution last week. Then we get them playing against Red Bull. And I'm thinking, okay, Red Bull started off pretty okay. So, that's not like you're golden to get 3 points here. And, Fontana was back in the side. It's the first home win for the Union in 2021. We get Flock playing a really great game again. I really do think that he is just player of the season right now for the Union. That signing of the season for them. You have Shabilko was off, right? He didn't start. It was Burke and Santos that started the game, with Burke scoring 9 minutes in, which was great. Drew Yearwood gets sent off, though, late in the match. He's the one from Brentford, right?
Yeah, he's been
we talked about it on Stoppage.
Yes, he's got some issues with being sent off and being a little too taking the game a little too much to heart at times.
And then, other than them, the Union getting their first win there, which I think is a big story.
Mm.
But I think when we look at U.S. men's national team, the biggest story is actually Aaron Long. I don't know if it ruptured, tore, whatever the official wording here is, but he's out for the rest of the season with the ACL issue.
Achilles.
Oh, Achilles.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I see Achilles and I think ACL.
It's usually ACL, so we'll give you that. Yeah.
Well, yep, that's so Achilles. That's still a pretty bad, pretty bad.
Really bad. Yes.
But he's out for this season. It's going to put him out of the Nations League. It's going to put him out of Gold Cup.
Qualifying.
I'm not sure if he would have been in that, but I would have think at least a Gold Cup he would have been in. And at this point, he's not going to. It's just been the season of injuries worldwide. Mm-hmm. But really, when you look at the men's team with Morris, Areola, he's back though, and then you have Aaron Long. It's been a pretty rough start here. The Red Bulls, like I said, they started off the season pretty decently. They had 2 straight losses, but then they rebounded. But they're in 9th with 6 points. So they're kind of slipped again. They have 3 losses. They have no draws, and they have 2 wins. So they had a run there where they had those 2 wins, and it was great. And then they just had that loss again, and it pulled them back down. Because at one point, I think last week, they were in the playoff spots.
Yeah, they were.
So, I don't know. What do you think of Aaron Long's injury, and how does this affect the Red Bulls and their chances of maybe making one of those playoff spots?
Yeah, I was going to say they're not real solid. They lost Tim Parker. They lose Aaron Long now. That's 2 of their big pieces that were back there last year. So, yeah, and what really sucks is Aaron Long was playing really well. Aaron Long was not having like your run-of-the-mill season. He played really well. I think I want to say he featured for the United States against Jamaica in that friendly, and played extremely well. I thought that he had the abilities to play out of the back, and I think that the Red Bulls kind of rely on that because that link up between he and, like a Caden Clark or something like that, playing through the midfield with Frankie Amaya, that would have been big. So now they've got to find 2 guys to kind of step in and have big roles this year that weren't necessarily in those roles last year. And so now your depth is dwindling. Your abilities to defend are dwindling, and they're like middle of the pack. They've given up 6 goals this season, which is not great, but it's pretty decent. So yeah, they'll miss him. They'll miss that presence, and he's a leader. Like I feel like that he's the guy that they would turn to in the locker room because he's been there and he's done it. And so yeah, this is a big loss. This sucks for the United States, man, because they have so many competitions coming up, and you needed something like this, and this was just really, really bad for the U.S.
Definitely. Pretty brutal. Like you said, I know some people are not high on Aaron Long. I'm not super high on him.
No.
But we got a lot of games to play the U.S. men's national team, and you just need the depth. Because what if somebody else gets hurt? You just need this depth in case of something happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's move on to one of your topics.
Yeah, so we were just talking about him. I want to talk about the Columbus Crew. Really, really rough start to the season. Started with 2 draws, 0-0 against Philly, 0-0 against Montreal. The Montreal looks a little bit better because they are playing better. Montreal's playing better soccer. Philly, that was kind of like that weird time though with CCL. So you had like rotational teams and things like that.
Nobody looked up for it in that one.
You're right. Yeah. DC is the team they beat. They beat them 3-1.
A lot of people have beaten them.
Yes. And so that's, that result is kind of just a wash. They lose to Toronto, and Toronto manhandled them. I thought that Toronto played extremely well. And then New England pretty much shuts them down. Lucas Elorion did not play. So that was a big issue. Now, I said 3-1. They've only scored one goal, and it came from Lucas Elorion on a free kick against DC United. The other two goals were 2 own goals by DC United. And when you look at this team, again, was supposed to be stacked with depth.
Supposed to run away
yes.
with it. And I heard a Columbus Crew fan, by the way, on Twitter say that their depth was ASS. I said, no. You were supposed to have one of the deepest teams. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
Yes.
Maybe it's not deep now with injuries, but it was deep.
Yeah, and again, it starts in the back. It starts with guys that aren't playing as well. Darlington Nagbe's played 4 matches. They've played 5. Luis Diaz played 5. I think the only 2 that have played 5. Nope, there's 4, and 2 of them are subs. This team looks dinged up. If Lucas Elorion's going to miss time, this team's never going to compete at a high level. You need a creative 10 in this league, and he is it. That is it. They don't have a person to step in. You can't throw a Darlington Nagbe in as a 10, I don't think, and be successful in this league. Artur's been hit and miss. He's had some dinged up problems. Perry Kitchen has had his Peter. I don't know where I got that from. I think I know what it was. I grew up and I worked with a guy named Peter Kitchen. Milton Ballon.
Shout out Peter.
Yeah, shout out to Peter. He was a big soccer fan. We watched
okay, there you go.
Yeah, we watched the Belgium game back in the World Cup with the United States that was not fun. Milton Valenzuela has played 1 match, and that's their big time left back that they've been missing this whole time. So this team is just a walking. I guess it's like Liverpool of
who they remind me of?
Who's that?
If we look at a other sport here in this country who just won a championship, they remind me of the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Everybody was expecting the Dodgers to have like 140 wins this year or something, and they're struggling right now. They have a whole bunch of injuries. And they've just added Pujols, so I feel like that's like adding Bradley Wright Phillips. But Bradley Wright Phillips can really still play.
Right.
But I don't know. I just think that when I look at them, I kind of see the similarities of everybody was expecting the Crew to run away with it. Everybody was expecting them to be a deep team that's going to run away with it. And really, I think that they're in some trouble. Just the way I think the Dodgers are actually in trouble, if there's any Dodger fans here. A lot of people think they'll still walk away with the division. I think some people still think the Crew will be fine. I think the Crew have to worry about just getting into playoff spots. And then from there, if they're healthy, anything can happen, right? That's pretty much what happened last year. I mean, They were like 3rd in the East, and they won it all.
Yeah. And then, if you look at their game this weekend, it's a game that, I think that it's a team that you really want to try to compete against, because it's a team that I think that they thought they were going to be competing with the rest of the season. But the Revs, didn't look great. Trust me, they've not looked great yet, but they were good enough to beat a very banged up Crew team. And now I think it's been 15 straight games that the Crew have lost on the road. They haven't won in 15 matches on the road. That is not a recipe for a team that's supposed to run away with the conference. And again, I said this before, but they finished 4th, I think, last year in MLS and in the East. Sorry, not the MLS, but in the East, I think they finished 4th. It was a concern for me, like coming in from the outside and not having watched last year, that a team that finished 4th, and yes, I get that they added nice depth pieces, but here it is, depth's gone. You lose a lot of depth. You're losing depth as the minutes go on. They're not healthy. You've got all these competitions coming up, like Milton Valenzuela is going to, like some of these guys are going to have to play. Jazzy Zardes is going to be relied upon on the U.S., and he's got some issue with his shoulder. Zelarayan, there's instances where he could even get called in. So this team, you really worry about all these competitions coming up. and the fact that they've only had 1 goal in 5 matches is extremely concerning.
1 goal they created.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, before we move on from them, I just want to say next week, this weekend, doesn't get easier. They have NYCFC. Which right now I think if you're going to look at a team that's more of a dark horse right now, I would pick them as better odds over the Crew to win MLS Cup because NYCFC have been pretty good. But yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to one of my other headlines here. Portland got a much-needed victory. They needed this win. It was huge. They needed to win. They went out and they beat San Jose 2-0, which puts them up to 9th place. Remember, they were at like 12th. They were down there. They were down 12th. They have 6 points now, 9th place. They're just 1 point out of a playoff spot. And just, the West is really close, to be honest, because even LAFC, who's surprisingly 13th place in the East, in the West. Sorry, man, that would be crazy if they were in the East. But they're in the West, and they are 13th place for LAFC. They have 5 points. So really, they're only like 3 points out of a playoff spot, 2 points out of a playoff spot. But looking at Portland, they needed this victory over San Jose. The reason why, and San Jose really slipped there. They've lost 2 in a row to these Cascadian teams here. But you have Yimi Chara in the 5th minute and Loria in the 74th to put it away. Williamson playing great. He even made a reference to not getting called in. Did you see this?
Yes.
Yeah, he posted the Michael Jordan meme from The Last Dance, and I took that personally. And everybody knows he's talking about that U23 not getting called into Olympic qualifying. And I love that it's kind of set a fire under him because, man, it really makes you wonder, what was Jason Christ doing? Any thoughts on him?
I've been a big Eric Williamson fan since we had to watch that U23 team.
Disaster.
I can't wait to see what he does with these competitions coming up because I think he does get some opportunities here because he is so upset. And I think that Berhalter does a much better job with player connection. And I think that this is something Greg Berhalter sees and says, this could be something that I can take advantage of.
Yeah, Berhalter has always been a better communicator. All right, so let's go back to one of yours here. Who do you got?
Yeah, so I've got the Crazy Eights, and by saying the Crazy Eights, I do mean, of course, all the teams. I'm going to focus on the East because the one team in the West that does have 8 points, I'm not going to really focus on because they're the outlier. It's the Dynamo. I mean, you could talk about the fact that are they for real? They had a really good start. What does that mean for them? But I want to focus on the East because there is a cluster of teams here with then there's the lovely screenshot. It's NYCFC, Atlanta United, CF Montreal, Philadelphia, and Inter Miami. And so I want to talk with you. Who do we see in this group as being contenders, and who maybe in this group do we see more of being pretenders this early on in the season?
I think Miami and Montreal are the biggest pretenders.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to say, hey, maybe Montreal has a good shot at just making a playoff spot. But when you looked at Nashville still undefeated, they just need to get wins, and I think they will start eventually racking up some wins. I think that'll put them maybe above Montreal. Miami is a big question mark for me because sometimes they look really good, and sometimes they look really bad. And I just don't know what they are. I'm trying to give Phil Neville a benefit of a doubt, and I think, look, they're already doing a lot better than they were last year at this point. So I think whatever he's doing is working right now. I think the Union can go either way, honestly. I mean, they're bringing in a good player from Hungary that's going to be coming in. But I just don't know if they're good enough to really challenge. I think they can make a playoff spot. And Atlanta and NYCFC, I think they're real. I mean, Atlanta is still iffy at times. I think Union can overcome Atlanta. But I think what you're looking at, the top three, New England, Orlando, NYCFC, I think that's a pretty good top three. And I think NYCFC is a real good actual crazy eight member, I think that they're fine. What's your thoughts on these teams?
Yeah, so when I'm looking at this team, and I was looking at this earlier because I was just when I was doing the power rankings, I was looking at it like, what in the world do I do with these teams? Because if they do drop points, who do I put there? Like if one of these Western teams. So NYCFC, having watched him play in person, I'm not convinced that Castellanos is going to be that striker that you really need. So I actually think that they are more of like going to go and regress back into the spots that I think we had them in. Atlanta United, I'm really, really, really concerned with the fact that Joseph needs to be old Joseph in order for them to be even close to being contenders. And that is not even the case. Ezekiel Barco looks completely a mess when he's playing. Dom has been hurt. Barco's been hurt. Bello, I thought they were like raving about Bello. I thought that he actually had a pretty poor performance as far as balls that he's playing in when getting intercepted. I think Santiago Sosa has made them that good. Like I think that he's the one carrying the load, and he can't do that from the position that which he plays in usually. So I'm really concerned about their attack. I would say that they're a little bit less of a concern because if Joseph does turn it on, that team becomes a completely different animal. Because I do think their defense has gotten better. CF Montreal, like you said, Jordan, they're one step away from not being any good. I hate to say that because they've played well, but they're like a Jordi Mihailovic from going down or a Kyoto from going down for a couple months that they could just blow up. Philadelphia, I know with you it's tough because you could say you go either way. I still think Gazdag, who they're adding, I think that having Martinez back from his punch in the face, I think that Shabilko, I think that having Santos, I think that the ability to go out and maybe get a striker at number 9 that's going to be really good is still in the forefront too. This team could just add one more piece and become really, really dominant. And I think Gazdag might actually be that piece where they won't even have to add another one because Fontana has struggled to create. Mm-hmm. Fontana now can worry about scoring, I think, and I think that could help him, or at least creating from a different angle or being just that link-up play that they're going to need. So that team I'm much more high on. And Inter Miami, I think out of the bunch, that's the one I'm least confident in. I really do think that Gonzalo Higuain and his brother Federico don't continue this pattern, and I don't think that Rodolfo Pizarro is enough to carry this team. And he's
not good enough as a DP.
Yeah. I think that this team's – and they're never going to defend.
They thought they were getting a Vela. They thought they were getting a Vela. Really. They thought everybody when they signed Pizarro, they were like, oh, my God, this is a great deal. This is a great player. It just hasn't worked out that way.
Right.
So my last headline here is Minnesota 2 in a row. They turned it around. They were last place when we did our episode a week ago. And they are now all the way up to 11th. They went 2 spots up. They got some daylight between them and the bottom of the West. And this is Lod. I'm pretty sure it's Lod, right? Or Lud? Yeah, Lud. There you go. I hear it Lud, and I'm like trying to figure out how to say that. Lud.
Yeah, because it's L-O-D.
94th minute victory goal. Look, it was a corner kick late in the game that scored. And hey, at this point, if you're Minnesota, you take whatever you can get. So you take those points and you get out of there, right? So just good for them. I think Adrian Heath has still kind of lost the plot a bit. Some of his quotes after the game. following all these Minnesota accounts now, he barely uses his subs, and they were asking questions about that, and he was kind of like dismissive, like, oh, I know you Americans love your subs, but it was just kind of a backhanded compliment there. So,
right.
So a little yikes from Adrian Heath, but other than that, it's good. So we ready to get to your last one and bring in our guest?
Yeah, so I'll just kind of preview what we're going to be talking about with Brad. We're going to be focusing on FC Cincinnati opening up their new stadium. How does that look? How does that sound? Brad was able to go to the game, and he is joining us. He's over on Cincy Soccer Talk. So we're going to talk to Brad. We had Brian on, his twin brother, earlier in the previews, if you can remember back then. So we're going to talk about FC Cincy, get his feel on just being in the stadium, what that's like, what the environment's like, what that means to the city, and then some of his thoughts on the game itself and the team going forward here in 2021. So we can bring Brad in.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Feel like it. You're rocking a Cincinnati shirt over there.
Yeah,
Logan.
man.
I like it.
Yeah, I had to represent the Weigel twins, man. I had to pull that out here.
Hey, now you finally got the better one on. So I
congratulate
you guys.
I had the kit on last episode.
Yeah, Jordan.
I found it at Ross for $20, the 2019 one. So there you go.
Can't beat it.
No, it was great deal.
Yeah, man. I had to take advantage. My wife and I, we took advantage of last year's jerseys. I think right before the new ones came out, it's like $15 or something. So
that's awesome.
It's awesome.
That's great.
My grandpa always said you can never get rich by spending too much money. So
that's true. Well, I'm not rich, point. I guess.
Right.
We all suffer from that, I think.
But how are you today?
Hey, not doing too bad. I was listening to you guys a second ago. Had a pretty interesting weekend. Wish we had a better result on the field, but it was cool. FC Cincinnati, we didn't get to have fans last year at all, so it was really the first time that I'd been to a match in 18 months, something like that. It would have been the end of the 2019 season. Because we didn't get any home matches in the first 2 weeks of 2020, so it was good just seeing everybody. With FC Cincinnati, it really had become a family because it was growing the club the first couple of years and then getting that MLS bid. So we were in close proximity contact with so many people, just building up from the inaugural season of the club to fighting for an MLS bid, to getting, lobbying council for a stadium, to all of a sudden now it's like you can't see anybody. So it was great just to be back in community with everybody.
I was going to say, I was loving your guys' Twitter, just following all the Soccer Talk guys, just walking around the stadium and seeing you guys reconnect with people you haven't seen in a long time. And then you found your triplet over there,
Clay
which is great.
Yeah.
But I like that's what I told Brian when we had Brian on. It's like, I love the Cincy Soccer Talk guys because you guys just tell it so real, and I think that's why I love having you guys on, just because you don't see it from the rose-colored glasses. You want them to do well, but you also see it for what it is, which is why I enjoy having you guys on.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. When I say Cincinnati Soccer Talk and FC Cincinnati, I say we. We don't want to be those reporters who are like, "Oh, the team," and yeah, come on, guys, we're doing this for fun. We're not making a buck off of this.
So first question for you here: TQL Stadium or West End Stadium?
Hey, man, you gotta respect the organization that's given us millions of dollars to put their name on that, which allows FC Cincinnati to go out and get players like Lucho Acosta and Brenner. So while I did like it, a Weston Stadium, I thought it was cool. I think everybody realized it. You got to pay the bill somehow. So TQL, that's okay with me.
I think we always call it West End Stadium here on our show.
I have to catch myself all the time still. So.
I was going to say, couldn't you call it like TQL by West End Stadium or something?
Yeah,
like
we call it the TQL right now, man. So
I love it.
So what was it like? The stadium looks really beautiful from pictures, especially where it's located and stuff. What was it like just being, other than like seeing people you haven't seen in a bit, but like the actual, like when you walk in and you're like, this is our home now. Like this is where we're going to be for game days. What was that like?
Yeah, so unlike Brian, this was actually my first experience in the stadium, at the stadium.
Wow.
I really specifically tried to stay away. It just to get, I wanted to get that like
Match day
that
feel.
wow, yeah, that wow factor, and it really did. Now I can't lie to you guys. Outside of Crew Stadium and Louisville Sluggers, field and all that, like I really haven't been to many soccer specific stadiums. But if I could like have ticked off like every box, or I want this, I want that, I want it ended up being what TQL is. I mean, it is unbelievable. And from the road, you think, oh, it looks cool, looks like a nice size, but you go like in there and then down. That place is massive on the inside, and I think it's only going to get better with some of the amenities as they grow. They had to rush this thing into existence this year, but that place is going to be loud. I mean, it was loud with just 6,000 people, but I want to say they put every little detail into the stadium with the construction of the products they use to make it. So like the Bailey, which for your listeners is our supporter section, and the materials they made out of, like every time that the fans are just taking their flags and just pounding it, and it's just reverberating around the ceiling. So all that noise is just staying in there. I'm used to Crew Stadium or Nippert Stadium where it goes straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Nippert was so loud. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when you have 26,000 people engaged and with a team that warrants the cheers, in the coming months and years.
I was going to say, I think at one point, I don't remember who it was. It was one of you guys, and you tweeted that I think that the ceilings were vibrating at one point to where it was just like reverberating off of that. And Stu was talking about, there's only 6,000. He goes, but I'm saying that that's just an estimate. There's probably way more than that because of the way that it sounds in this stadium and how loud it can be.
Yeah, I mean, there was so much space just because it max was 6,000. There was still so much space, so much room between everybody and row skipping. But yeah, that noise just stays with that sin, just stays in and then reverberates everywhere else. I think the first couple minutes was really loud because everybody was excited. That goal kind of sucked, some of the environment out. But then when Barrial scored that goal, kind of, I don't know, first 15 minutes into the second half, that place just erupted. And then when Hagelin scored, oh man, we've been waiting for a moment like that for so long. And it was just, it was awesome. And if I'm US soccer, I'm looking at TQL Stadium and being like, we need to get our teams, men's, women's, youth playing in front of a crowd like this in a stadium like this. It's going to be our great equalizer. I've been to a couple U.S. Mexico games in Columbus, and it's loud, but you put that in Cincinnati, or even if it does go in Crew Stadium, whatever they're going to call it, with that noise level, it's going to give us that edge that we just have without. Honestly, the U.S. men's team needs that support. So I think it's going to be huge for soccer in this country.
Yeah, so I guess a hard-hitting question. Is there anywhere close to get Skyline Chili? Because Jordan doesn't know what it is.
Oh, man, it's right behind the Bailey. It's in the stadium. You can get La Rosa's and Skyline right there, man. So it'll be simple for you.
Awesome.
Right. I was going to say, because that's a really important question. I know the Cincy soccer fans are going to want to know where they can get the Skyline in that new stadium.
If you're looking for like an original Skyline experience, I would not do it in the stadium. It's probably good, but man, you gotta go and you gotta get the little crackers in a little plastic bowl and put a little hot sauce on there. I'm not sure what they're going to do with the cheese at the stadium, but you need to go to the Clifton location or the Fairfield location where they just like put mountains on there, just like Whitten Woods. You just mountains of cheese on there. It's unbelievable.
Now the stadium that it's in, and they talked about the walk. They showed the walk in the neighborhood that it's in. I mean, is there a lot going around? Pregame, is there good places in and around that? What's that environment like? Just kind of outside the stadium in that neighborhood. Yeah.
So for your fans, they built the stadium in the West End neighborhood, which is right next to Over the Rhine. Over the Rhine is kind of the foodie bar, young hipster happening and place on just the north edge of downtown. So really, like, I consider it to be downtown. While they might not have skyscrapers there, it's literally a stone's throw away from downtown. And that neighborhood is where everybody likes to go. All the best restaurants in town are there, music halls there. So if people want to go see fine arts, the ballet, all that. And just over the last 10 years, that neighborhood has had a massive renaissance. So there are a ton of bars, and they're building new stuff. This is still in a neighborhood in transition. So you're seeing a lot of, old warehouse type facilities. People are going in, and a lot of them are like revitalizing them. Like there's a Queen City Radio, which I want to say was like an old garage, like an old tune-up place. And they've revitalized that to an awesome outdoor, indoor environment. And you're just seeing tons of these going up around town. I want to say at one point, like there was just one sports bar in Over the Rhine. That was Rhine House. And everybody would go there for match days. And I think even the Premier League in America, they had a big event there. I want to say when Liverpool won the title. So like that was it. And now there's just tons and tons of locations. And I think there's just even going to be more. So the supporters won't have a lack of options. And really the way the parking worked out this first week and just incorporated into the community, it was really easy to get in and get out of. Now we'll see when you add, 3 times as many people,
Right.
But it kind of like Portland is on my bucket list. I think when people see the West End Stadium and see what Cincinnati is about, it's just not flyover country anymore. I think it's going to be a bucket list for a lot of places. I think it's going to be like Portland, Seattle, LAFC, Cincinnati.
It's definitely on my bucket list already.
Pardon me, where are you guys out of?
I am in Maryland.
Okay.
And I'm in Orlando.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So not you guys day trips. You can get here quick.
It's
Orlando, it's like $69 on Allegiant, man.
It is.
Get here in a minute. You can stay with one of us CST guys. A free room, man. It'd be great.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only issue with coming to Cincinnati is they won't like my Cubs stuff. So I don't know how that would necessarily play well in Great American. But
if you go to a Cubs game in Great American, there'll be more Cubs fans.
Yeah, we tend to do that.
They're ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
We actually more hate the Cardinals right now.
Oh yeah, no, nobody likes the Cardinals, so
yeah, we don't like the Cardinals and the Pirates. It feels like every time we play the Pirates, there's a big brawl. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but just as speaking as like a sports fan in Cincinnati, when you were in the stadium, did you kind of just look around and get a feel as to like what fans were noticing, or is there anything that was like shocking to you, or maybe some things that people really liked that maybe some other stadiums might not have?
Yeah. I guess the wow factor is just the size of the stadium itself, and how close every seat is to the field. Like literally the fans are going to be on top of the field. And I think the players noticed that. And with just 6,000, they noticed how loud it is. So I think with the designs, it's going to be cool. There's all kinds of bars. There's grab and goes. It's not hard to get a drink there. I think they've made it easy for the fans. But I think that every design of the stadium was to make it a benefit for the club and for the team itself on game days. So I think that's the one thing I can take away. It's just how big it is, but how every seat feels like it's right on. It feels like it's right on the field without like you don't feel like you're crammed in there like sardines. So,
So we want to ask you before we kind of let you free, and I know we have to talk about maybe not the positive part of it, but as far as the team is concerned, what are you seeing from the team that maybe is concerning, and then maybe some things that you've noticed that are some positives that they can build upon and have a better, rest of the season going forward in 2021?
Well, you said, man, I don't have to take a lot of the positive part of it. There's not a lot going on right there. Well, I mean, we'll call it. It is what it is. Again, it's a team in transition. I want to say they've got like 14 new players, and even those players, they're late arrivals in this trade window. It's like this weekend we had Jeff Cameron, who just joined, I want to say Thursday. Kenneth Vermeer at goalie, he just joined this week. And Gustavo Viasi is the other center back. And I think he just joined a couple weeks ago, but he just started practicing 2 weeks ago. So it's a team in transition. So I think they are going to grow. I'm not yet sold on Jaap Stam as a manager, and if he's the right guy to get the pieces in place. But if you guys looked at the MLSPA payroll that just came out, FC Cincinnati was 5th in the league, and that doesn't include Jeff Cameron and Vermeer. While FC Cincinnati might not be paying a ton of Vermeer's salary, Vermeer was on like $750,000 at LAFC, and I bet you Jeff Cameron's going to be the north end of $500,000 or more. So they've spent a ton of money. The reason the club stinks isn't because the ownership is cheap. It's just that the front office has been poor. And I still think that they're doing a poor job constructing this roster with so many different international pieces, so many pieces that don't even fit the system. Right now, FC Cincinnati, if you want to talk about a negative thing, FC Cincinnati is playing Yuya Kuba, who was a DP, now is a high-level, over $1 million TAM player, who has been known as a second striker, winger, or maybe a backup 10. He's playing is a 6'8", holding defensive midfielder. And guys, he can't do it. And I don't hate him for it because that's not what he does. But he's gutting it out because he knows, when we got rid of Frankie Amaya, there was a massive hole. And Harris Medellín's not fast enough to play that role anymore, especially with how we want to get the FC Cincinnati wants to get the fullbacks up the field. We saw in the goal, he gave the ball away in midfield and he just can't track back there. So with FC Cincinnati, there's just so many pieces that just aren't fitting together. And I think right now, for the short term, it's going to be a struggle. I think something like FC Cincinnati's got 25 of their 34 games after July 7th or something. So there's going to be time, especially with this international break, to get the guys back together, maybe have like a second preseason. But things are still coming together. And right now I think it's like, Lucho, what can you do? Can you get us through this? And when he was out for 2 games, we lost 8-0 or 5-0 and 3-0. When he was there, we scored 2 goals both matches. So
yeah, that was the thing for me. Acosta missing those 2 matches and just seemed like there was no creativity once he was out.
Yeah, no creativity and then no disruption. Like, our midfield is just a massive hole. And it's so easy for teams. Like, they don't even have to have numbers to just transition back against FC Cincinnati, because the way the fullbacks get up the field, I think they're just they were so bad on offense last year. Scored like 10 or 11 goals. It was abysmal. So now they just want to like attack and score goals and at least try to make it entertaining. And then they just are just susceptible. So like, people are killing our defense, but honestly, teams are just coming right down our defense's throat. And our defense, like, there's nobody to stop him in between the front line and the back 4. So that's just a massive thing. Like, that's what I'm worried about with Montreal this week, is they like to press. We're going to turn that ball over and they're going to just stuff it right down our throat. And until Jaap Stam makes a change, which he really can't, because we don't have healthy options to change the formation. Like, if you wanted to move to back 5, we don't really have guys healthy enough to do it. So just being kind of a perfect rough storm to start the season. But being on the road as much as they are, I kind of thought they would have somewhere between 1 and 4 points right now. Right now they're sitting on 1. They should be probably 2.
I was going to say, it wasn't good when that last goal, I was just watching the highlight before the show, when the truck that is Gonzalo Higuain is just chugging through the midfield with nobody really getting near him. Like, it's just like he's running downhill and that bus is behind him, and he's slow, so it's like he's like chugging along and nobody near him.
Like, Jeff Cameron's like cramping, he can barely even walk. I mean, that goal was just such a kick in the what. I mean, my gosh, like, the stadium was going nuts. We're like, we finally fought back, because it was Stu Holden said, like, FC Cincinnati in their time at MLS, when they go down a goal, they're 0-35.
Yep.
So we're like, we finally fought back. We finally stopped something. Oh no, God, no! Here we are again. Seen this movie before.
And you look up into Stu's booth as he's sitting up there enjoying it.
Like, you just like. The thing is, like, everybody's like, oh crap, we're gonna give up a goal now, aren't we? Just because we're defeatist for Cincinnati. We've been broken the last 3 years, and that happened. You're just like, come on, can't we catch a break? Come on, what did we do wrong to the soccer gods? Like, did they give us that Open Cup joy just to like rip it all away
exactly
the last 3 years?
Was.
I mean, golly. So how many more head coaches we can get now? I don't know. It's like we kind of want Jaap Stam to go, but it's like, can we really have like our 5th head coach in 3 seasons? Like not even 3
Yeah,
seasons.
that's the question. Like, if they finish like wooden spoon again, is he gone?
Oh yeah, I think his contract's through this year.
Okay.
So
so you don't even have to fire him. They can just let him go.
no, they can just part ways. And I think his seat's warm. I won't say it's on fire yet, but I think he's at least going to get through like July 4th and see where they land. If they're showing progress, I don't think they need to show much progress for him to keep his job right now, because that continuity thing is huge. And it's got to be embarrassing to just be just a revolving door at head coach.
Yeah.
I think he probably gets through this year, but I think if 10 matches, you're not seeing any progress, and maybe FC Cincinnati by then can line up another coach. I don't think we're going to see a scenario where, like we did season 1 with Alan Koch, where we fired him 11 games into the year and then let Johan DeMay have something like 15 games while Gerard Nijkamp got in the country and got Ron Jans at the time. That was a long process. I don't think that'll happen this time. I think if they do make a change, they will have to have somebody in the wings. And right now, I don't know if there's a ton of MLS experienced coaches, and that's probably where I think they would lead towards. Just they've seen a lack of success with coaches not having MLS experience.
I was going to say, it seems like a perfect storm for Jose to get fired at AS Roma and come on over to Cincinnati.
I'm a Spurs fan. Don't you do that to me, Logan. Like, I'm kind of numb because my 2 soccer teams suck. I'm kind of numb, and I thought I couldn't be hurt, but that would probably hurt me. Like, that would be brutal. I don't even think he knows what to do. Like,
park the bus, I guess. I don't.
You guys got to be mean. You guys are so nice. Be mean.
I would love to see Jose in MLS, but I think Cincinnati would not be the best spot for him.
No, please God, no. Like, if Carl Lindner threw like, $20 million to Tuca Ferretti down there in Mexico and said, come on up here, I'd be like, I'll chip in. I'll give you $50. I'll give you $50 bill. I'll come in. Throw it up there. What's your Venmo, Carl? I think that would be the only. Like, they would need to do something, like, because with the Jaap Stam, it was a tough situation. COVID. I mean, to be fair, COVID. He comes here 2 weeks before MLS's back tournament. None of the guys are his guys.
At first, too, they put the wrong photo up.
Yeah, right. I love our communications team, so I feel bad for them, but because they're so nice and they're so outgoing. But yeah, that wasn't good. But he's had a tough time. Injuries, DP's just sucking. Coming in with COVID. And then I want to say I really the rebuild job with stuff like they did spend some money with Lucho and Brenner's still finding his way. And honestly, like, he had to play the 10 a couple weeks ago because we didn't have anybody there. So You're not exactly setting the guy for success. I'm not going to make an opinion on him because when he does get on the ball, he does look like he's got a lot of talent. So if they can figure that out, they'll be good. But they brought so many of these players like middle to late of preseason. And then they're like, go win games. And I'm like, Gerard, you've got to help your boy out here. Like, I'm not high on him. Like, you've seen so many of Gerard Nijkamp signings, and then he wants 5 transfer windows. Like, I'm not even sure I trust you to spend the money that you got for Frankie Amaya. I mean, Frankie Amaya, I'm mad that he's gone, but you know what? It was probably a right business move for him. Like, I wouldn't trust my career at FC Cincinnati right now.
No.
I'm a huge fan. Come on.
It was funny because before that, I thought Frankie Amaya was being a little hard on them because I was like, it came out right when they were spending all that money. Yeah. And I was like, okay, so I mean, like, what else are they supposed to do, Frankie? But now looking at it, I'm like, okay, that's a good move, Frankie, getting out of there.
He's looking dangerous. He's looking dangerous up there in New York. And him, Goodman, too. He was,
Yep.
They got them for a song and dance. But
do you think Cameron is a good fit for the team?
I do. Just from the one match I saw, we didn't have many great options at center back. But I think one of the issues with this team is direction and leadership. And you saw from the kickoff, Jeff Cameron is pointing left, pointing right, telling the guys where to go, and being extremely vocal on the field. And we just haven't had anybody like that to be that general. So while he's 36, and I'm a big Cap guy, we got our spreadsheets, break down all that stuff. If you want to go look at it, go to cincinnatysoccertalk.com/roster. It's really cool, all the stuff that we've come up with. So for like that side, I'm like, why do you need to sign a 36-year-old center back who's going to cost a ton of money? But FC Cincinnati is at a point in time where they needed somebody. They needed a domestic because right now they have like 12 internationals, 2 of them which are on IR. So you can't get any more internationals right now. And you just needed somebody to settle things up. Now, he doesn't have the speed, but he is really good on the ball. He's going to make the correct fouls. He's going to get guys in the right position. And with the defensive midfield, who's really kind of struggling with their positioning, with like Yuya Kubos specifically, and Alan Cruz, who's more of a, I want to say he wants to be like almost like an 8+. And he's been asked to defend more. And then Kamahela Makocha, who's normally our 6'8", and he was a healthy scratch this week, and we don't know why. So I think we need a general in there like Jeff Cameron to pull everybody around, and then also getting some guys' faces. Because right now, I see Cincinnati, like, I hate it to say this, but like it's almost like losing's become acceptable, except for guys like Acosta and Matarrita. You see a lot of the guys who've been there, they give up a goal, head goes straight down. Like, not again. So that's why this week, even though they lost, it was encouraging. It was like, okay, we did see a fight back. And with a team that needs some support, I think opening up the West End Stadium and then maybe having some of that schedule backloaded so we get a lot more games there as the team gets better, I think it's going to benefit them. Will they make the playoffs? I don't think there's a way in heck they make the playoffs. But you know what? I think something like 10th or 11th, I think would be positive. And if they're playing good soccer, like you saw what Caleb Porter did at the end of his first year in Columbus. Now, the first half of that season, they were terrible. The second half, I want to say they were something like second or third in total points over that stretch. If FC Cincinnati can put a run like that, see some promise, I think Yop Sam will come back, and I think the club's heading in the right direction. There are still some stumbling blocks, some players that they need to get rid of. They still need to turn over quite a bit of the roster and then kind of balance that with some MLS vets. But if they can get there, I think that would be what success looks like this year. That front office says playoffs. Come on, let's be realistic. Like we need to walk before we run. And through 2 years, we've had the worst defensive season in history, and follow that up with the worst offensive season in history. Like we just don't want to get embarrassed, guys. The bar's not that high. So, and then they're spending money. They are spending money. So it's are the guys in the front office and on that coaching staff the right guys?
All right. Did you want to just, again, say where everybody can find your stuff?
Yeah, sure. You can reach us all on at Cincy Soccer Talk on Twitter, on Apple. It's Cincinnati Soccer Talk. And then also for your fans, we've got another spinoff show called Talking Tactics with Coach Brad Goff. I would really encourage everybody to listen to that show. You're just going to become a better fan and a better supporter because he gets coaches on from all around the world. Now, there is a FC Cincinnati lean to it where they break down a lot of the plays. But, we've got all kinds of statisticians working for us doing articles. So it's really not just a FC Cincinnati fan blog, but it's really like an educational site as well. So CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. You can follow me directly at Bradley S. Weigel on Twitter and Instagram, I think, Facebook, all that. But, we love dialogue. And even if you disagree with us, let us know. Email us, DM us. And we love to know why and learn how we can get better. And then, just become a better asset for MLS and MLS fans in general.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. And that was Brad Weigel of Cincy Soccer Talk. We had his brother on for the previews, like you mentioned, Logan. So, yeah, I don't think we have to talk any more about that game. That was a great game, exciting game. Yeah, so that was all of our headlines. So I guess let's just run through the rest of this scores real quick. And if anything sticks out, we'll say something because we're probably going long. I don't even know at this point. But Toronto versus NYCFC. Toronto. This one was a surprise, actually. This was a home game for NYCFC and at Yankee Stadium. And NYCFC had the lead, but Toronto came back through Schaffelberg, and he scores to make it 1-1. And so Teldo played pretty good. Got a little chippy in the game as well. So just a fun one, huh?
Yeah, Schaffenberg's played pretty well when he's come on. I've been impressed with him. There were even shouts of getting him into some Canada national team matches because that's where he is. So I've been impressed with him, and Soteldo, he's going to be really good in this league. Really, really good.
Austin at LA Galaxy. Sebastian Lletget 35 minutes in after a missed Chicharito penalty that was saved by Stuver in the 26th minute. 35 minutes in, Lletget gets the goal. And then 77 minutes in, Chicharito reclaims his goal, gets the 7th. Beautiful finish. 1.5 goals per game for him. Finishes 2-0. Austin without Ring again here due to the red card. So just, I don't know if there's much to say about that. I think with Ring, they're a better team, but I still think LA is a better team.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think LA shows they have more talent, and I think Sebastian Lletget will have a really good year just by the way that he was playing in this match. He seems motivated. I think he's motivated by the chance that he could be one of those nice bench pieces for the U.S. men's national team. I think that he's trying to prove himself to Berhalter, and I think that in the games that he's played with the U.S. men's national team, the friendlies, he's played well. So I think that has carried on, and he thinks that, hey, I've got a legit shot to be in World Cup qualifying and maybe bringing my talents with this team, because he does a lot of things really, really good. Not great, but he's a really good player, solid bench piece that I think Berhalter would want.
Montreal at Atlanta. Atlanta won that one 1-0 in the 94th minute. I think this game was on at the same time as the Minnesota game. Because I think it was both very late games like very late goals. I was like, this is weird. Montreal was better in the second half, but not really great performances by either of the teams. But no Barco, no Jurgen Damm, Joseph not looking like himself. Good result from Atlanta.
Sure.
I think it is. Montreal's no slouch.
They're not. No, they played well. But, I mean, with how much possession Atlanta had, that was my concern. Just non-threatening again. But
yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. They have a lot of things going on executively, as well as we talked about last week. Houston at Colorado. Colorado win that one 3-1. They're like just outside of that top 5 of our power rankings. If people want to watch that show, that is tomorrow on our YouTube channel. You can follow the link on the link tree. There's a link to the playlist that has that on there. Houston at Colorado, like I said, so Sam Vines in the 29th, Rubio in the 36th. Ramirez in the 39th for Houston, and then Bassett in the 42nd. So all those goals came in the first half.
Yeah, it was a wild first half, and then not so much after.
Not so much after that. Nashville at RSL 0-0. Nashville undefeated, but they're not doing a lot, are they, with that undefeated? They have 1 win and 4 draws.
And I think I want to check before I make this comment, because I have a tendency to do this. What is their home? I want to say that they've had 4 home games where they've
home. Yeah, they've had 4 home games. 3 draws,
3 draws and a win. Yeah. So, that's not. I mean,
that was their first away game.
Yeah, it's good that you're getting points, but you're dropping 2 at home when you should grab 2 at home. At least get those 3 points from one of those home matches.
Vancouver at SKC. SKC win that one 3-0. Salloway in the 28th minute. The 32nd minute. Was that him as well? Sorry.
No, it's Polito.
Polito. Yeah. Okay, the way you wrote it. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then 58th minute for Polito as well. I was going to say, I thought Polito took penalties.
Yeah.
Then we have the Revs at the Crew. We already talked about that one. Orlando at DC. Here you go. Orlando unbeaten. 7 minutes in, Pereira scores. That's it. DC really played well in this game, though.
They did. Yeah.
More shots, more possession. Losada was very happy with the way his team played. You know, he'd rather lose the game with the possession and playing better than losing a game and looking like crap is pretty much what he said
Yeah.
in his post game. And we talked about LAFC and Sounders, did we not? Oh, no, we did not.
No, we didn't
talked
talk
about
about
that on our show that premieres tomorrow on the YouTube channel. LAFC and Sounders. 2-0 for Sounders. It was 0-0 at half. So good result for LAFC at that point. But I want to talk about this. Weigel came off the bench and on. Sounders still undefeated. 16 points. Without Stefan Fry against LAFC, you're like, oh, LAFC might be able to grab some goals. No, he won't. They won't. Stefan Cleveland gets moved up from Tacoma Defiance, the USL team. I talked about him on our USL show, The Closed Pyramid, where we talk all lower league stuff. And I thought Stefan Cleveland looked pretty good for Tacoma, and I thought he looked pretty good for this as well. I mean, he didn't have too much stuff going on, but he got some of those saves that he needed to make. Anything that he claimed some stuff he needed to claim as well if it was up in the air. So for me, Cleveland looked pretty good. They might be okay. Seattle might be okay without Stefan Fry, who's out 4 to 6 weeks, as we get an update on that. But LAFC are at the bottom of the West right now. Spooky. Everybody was like, oh, they're going to be like second place. I'm pretty sure they're going to be second place.
There's a lot of people that said that.
Logan put him as MLS Cup champs.
Why'd you bring that up?
Hey, we have to do this all the time. We have to always bring these up.
I understand. We're having a Cincinnati type performance in those predictions.
Yes, we are. We're not doing so great in the predictions right now.
No, but this team's not anything without Carlos Vela. I'm just going to say it. Even when he was out last year, team is not much without Carlos Vela. Diego Rossi was getting attention from Europe, but he's been either hurt or non-existent in a lot of these matches. That's concerning. Yes, I think Atuesta easily far and above all these other players. And the issue with me too is the Vela thing is really strange. Like it's like that's a tendon in around a knee that's dangerous when that tendon gets weak, that quad, because it causes concern for the knee and it causes concern for fitness. It's an injury that just doesn't really go away. It's an injury that needs rest, that needs strength, that needs healing. And if he's getting, minutes in some of these important competitions coming up, or even in the matches that he's playing, it could be really worrisome for a lot of the LAFC fans.
I will say, for the third week in a row, good move by Bob removing Vela from that first game.
Right.
Because he just came in as a sub in this game. So I think he's working his way back, and I think it's good to go. So let's take a quick look at the games we have. There's no midweek games this week, so no second show this week. Take a break. So Saturday, we have Montreal versus Cincinnati at 1 o'clock. That's on MLS Live. Then we have Portland versus LA Galaxy at 3:30 on Saturday. That's on ABC. Pretty big one. Portland's turning the corner. LA's pretty good. Then we have Chicago versus Miami at 6 o'clock on Unimas and TUDN and Twitter. That's odd. That's usually the 3:30 game. It's throwing me off. Orlando at home against Toronto, who's also kind of at home, at 7 o'clock on ESPN+. New York City FC versus the Columbus Crew on ESPN+. At Red Bull Arena?
That one's going to be, at Red Bull.
It's one of those weird things of the season as well. Dallas versus Salt Lake. That is on ESPN Plus at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock as well, New England Revs versus the Red Bulls at Gillette Stadium. Houston Dynamo versus Vancouver at 9 o'clock. San Jose versus SKC. So that's another big test for San Jose. They've been through the gauntlet with the Sounders and the Timbers, and now SKC. They've been through it all. Can they pull it off? They're at home at PayPal Park. Then at rounding out the night at 10:30 is LAFC versus Colorado Rapids. Then on Sunday, Seattle at 4:30 versus Atlanta on Fox. Then at 7 o'clock, DC United versus Philadelphia Union on MLS Live on ESPN Plus and your local channels if you're in the area. And at 9 o'clock, rounding out the weekend, Nashville versus Austin on FS1. Just pick a game. One game, Logan. A game that you're looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, so I mean, I got to pick the one that I'm always just I'm fascinated by, just because I like to see teams that are trying to come up out of their malaise. And I think that the one that grabs my attention in that sense is the NYCFC game against the Crew. I think that the game at Red Bull Stadium, it's a better pitch, so maybe that gives an advantage back to kind of Columbus. I think when they played at Yankee Stadium, it gives NYCFC more confidence.
It does, yeah. They usually know how to play on that field.
Yeah, I think it's a matchbox. So, trying to get out of this weird funk that Columbus is in with goal scoring. Again, just one created goal of their own in those 5 matches. Having to go away where they've lost 15 straight already. Can the NYCFC, can the Pigeons make it 16 in a row? I guess we'll see. So that's the game that I'm looking forward to. Which one are you looking forward to?
Oh, putting me on the spot here. I think I'll have to go with
the Wizards and the
the Washington Wizards and the whoever they're playing tonight. I'm so lost. No, I'm looking at DC United versus Philadelphia. I think DC's put up some good fights lately. Philadelphia has not put up some good fights lately. It's going to be interesting to see a measuring stick. If DC comes out, looks good, and gets some points, that's either a testament to one or the other. I'm not sure which one it's a testament to, but look, it took an own goal for the Revs to beat them. Orlando scored a goal early, and then it was all DC. So it could, and those are 2 of the best teams in the East. Really, and it's at DC. It could be a result for DC. I'm really excited to see this DC under Losada as well. I was
gonna say he's playing with this team that I don't think is very talented. Like, if you look at teams around the East, they don't have like the wealth of talent. Like, and they've had a bunch of players hurt. The fact that he's able to pull some of these results, like an Orlando team that's played really well, I think over this first 6 matches, almost 6 matches, it like he's got them. I mean, they're feisty. I like the way that he plays. I love that where they play it out of the back and they just go. They launch them. And they're playing long balls out of the back, and I'm like, whoa, this is nuts.
They're 10th place.
Yeah.
Okay. Out of 14 in the East, they have 6 points. That's 2 points back of a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
And with all their injuries, like you mentioned, that we said in our preview, like, hey, if they can just get through the start of the season, then maybe they can make a run later in the season when everybody's healthy. But they're doing pretty good without the players. So the fact is, if they can kind of just stay manageable and then make a run later on, or just stay consistent throughout the season, hey, they could follow up in the playoffs, which is exactly where we did not put them. You have them 13th, I have them 12th. So who knows? But we did qualify that by saying it's up to how Losada plays and how they take to him. And I think they've taken to him very well.
Mm-hmm.
But that about wraps us up here. I do want to get your thoughts on this. I'm not sure if you watched the Closed Pyramid episode 2, but we talked about this Oakland Roots jersey. And did you see it?
Oh, my gosh.
I'm going to show it on the screen here.
How is that a thing?
So for people that are listening, it's black, white, and gray triangles. And then inside the letter or the number is like fractured, like, I don't know
it's a pane glass window.
Yeah, it's like it's like a stained glass window of different colors. And it looks okay right here on the screen, I think. But man, if you watch highlights or if you watch the game, I don't know how a commentator can tell who is who, and it is very difficult. And actually, like when I'm just looking at it on the thumbnail without clicking it to put on the screen, I cannot even tell that's a 0. You cannot tell. So,
Yeah, I
We
forgot
talk
to text
about
you after
that.
one.
We complain about that on the Closed Pyramid episode 2. We also talk, like I said, Stephen Cleveland. We also talk some NISA. I talk about how I can't find highlight packages for them, so get that fixed. And it's all where we talk lower league stuff, since we can't really fit it in this show, since we go about 3 or 4 hours at a time on here. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at Stateside Show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.com/Stateside Show. Email us, statesideshow@gmail.com. We also updated the link tree. It has all the nice logos at the bottom of the link tree. You can just click that. You can click, bam, TikTok. I want to see some TikToks. Bam. I want to see some Instagram. You just click the Instagram logo. I want to listen on Apple. You just click the Apple logo. They have the YouTube logo. Then on the actual link spots, we have the 2 playlists for the YouTube shows, the Closed Pyramid playlist and the Power Rankings, which again, as we mentioned earlier, is going to have our second Power Rankings YouTube exclusive episode on tomorrow morning, Wednesday the 19th. So check that out if you're interested to see how we rank them. If you're watching on the video, bam, there's your quick preview. Try to make it where it wasn't long enough.
I was going to say, that was quick. I didn't even get to see it.
There you go.
I made it.
What it was. So watch the full episode, and we will catch you all next time. Thanks for listening and watching.